At my wife's sister's wedding, I was given a folding chair by the kitchen. Not even exaggerating. All the real family sat at the long tables under the floral chandeliers, clinking champagne glasses and posting stories on Instagram like their lives weren't dripping with rot behind the glitter. Me? I was seated near the damn swinging door where waiters yelled, "Hot," every 30 seconds. A small, metal folding chair. No name card. No napkin. Just humiliation served raw. Her Aunt Nancy said with a sweet, sour smile, "It's just for spouses. Real families at the table." I stared at her, waiting for anyone, to correct that. But no. My wife, Emily, didn't even blink. She was over at the main table, seated right next to her college ex, Ryan. Yes, that Ryan. The same one who once sent her a birthday message at 2 a.m. saying, "You'll always be my what if." The same one I wasn't supposed to worry about. And now, there she was, leaning in toward him, giggling with her hand grazing his shoulder like it was second nature. The laugh she hadn't used with me in months. Her dress? Red. Backless. She never wore red with me. Said it was too much. Now I knew why. It wasn't for me. I clenched my jaw and took a breath that hurt going down. I could have caused a scene right then, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I looked around at the fake smiles, the filtered happiness, and saw clearly, like a camera pulling focus for the first time. No one here respected me. Not her family. Maybe not even Emily. That was the moment. I reached under my chair, grabbed the cream envelope with our $3,000 wedding gift inside, our money, our hard-earned savings, the money I thought we were investing into people who would love us back. I stood up. The metal chair scraped across the wooden floor like a warning. People turned. Conversations paused. The music kept playing, but softer now, like even the speakers were afraid of what I was about to do. I held up the envelope. Looked dead at Emily. Her laughter stopped. Her face froze. Then I said, loud enough for every single one of those pretentious, sugar-smiling hypocrites to hear, "Real family doesn't pay for this." And I walked out. But not before watching Emily's smile collapse into a tight, bitter twist, like she'd been slapped by a truth she thought I'd never say out loud. Outside, the air hit me like a wake-up call. I could still hear the echo of my words bouncing around the reception hall as I tossed the envelope into the nearest trash can. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, I felt free. But that was only the beginning. Because what I didn't know yet was that this wasn't just a one-night disrespect. This wasn't just about a folding chair. This was the tip of something rotten. A trail that would lead me straight into the ugly, messy, soul-wrecking truth. I didn't just walk out of a wedding that night. I walked into a war. I didn't go home that night. I drove. No destination, no music, just the hum of the tires and the cold glow of streetlights flickering like they knew something I didn't. My phone buzzed nonstop, calls from Emily, a few texts from her cousins. One even had the audacity to say I ruined the energy of the night. That made me laugh. Not the happy kind. The broken, quiet kind that ends in silence and clenched fists. I ignored them all. By the time I pulled into a cheap motel at the edge of the city, it was past midnight. I sat there in the car for a while, staring at the dark parking lot, trying to figure out what the hell had just happened to my life. I wasn't some dramatic guy. I wasn't the jealous type. But something snapped back there at that wedding. Something real. The next morning, I went home early. Quiet. I didn't even slam the door. Emily was in the kitchen like nothing had happened. Making eggs. Still wearing the red dress, now wrinkled and spotted with mascara. She didn't look at me right away. Just flipped a pancake, all casual, like she hadn't sat next to her ex last night laughing like I didn't exist. I tried calling, she said. I didn't answer. Just stood there, staring at her back. That same back she turned to me at the wedding. Something about that silence made her shift. She finally turned. Her eyes were swollen. Good. At least I wasn't the only one who'd lost sleep. I didn't ask to be seated next to Ryan, she said. I didn't blink. But you didn't move, either. Her jaw tightened. What was I supposed to do? Cause a scene at my sister's wedding? No, I said. You were supposed to be my wife. And right there, something in her snapped. She dropped the spatula, crossed her arms, and gave me that look. The one she used when she was done pretending. Oh, come on, Nate. Are we really doing this? Over a chair and a few laughs. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about the seat, or the ex, or the wedding. This was bigger. I started noticing things. The late nights at book club, when she came home smelling like some cologne I didn't wear. The extra password on her phone. The way she never let it out of her sight, not even to shower. Her sudden interest in Pilates, even though she always said working out was a waste of time unless you're trying to impress someone. So I did what any man drowning in quiet suspicion does. I started looking. That Friday, she said she was staying late at work. I waited 5 minutes after she left, then followed. She didn't go to work. She didn't even make a turn toward her office. Instead, she drove straight to a downtown loft, parking like she'd done it before, walking in with that same bounce in her step she used to have when she came home to me. I waited in the car, watching the front door like a man on the edge of something irreversible. 38 minutes later, the lights on the third floor flicked off. She came out with him. Ryan. His arm was around her waist like it had a right to be there. And she laughed. That same damn laugh. Something inside me cracked. Not loud. Not violent. Just final. I didn't follow them. I didn't chase. I just sat there and let it wash over me. The betrayal, the lies, the reality I'd been too blind to see. She wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she never really was. When she got home that night, she didn't expect me to be awake. She tiptoed in like a teenager sneaking past curfew, heels in one hand, phone in the other, scrolling through something that made her smirk. I watched her from the dark of the living room, the only light coming from the aquarium. Her reflection in the glass next to the lazy swimming of the fish made her look like a stranger in my house. I waited until she was halfway up the stairs. You forget your book club binder? She froze. Literally, 1 foot on the step, 1 foot hanging in the air like she'd stepped on a landmine. Her head turned slowly, I searching the dark like a scared animal. Jesus, Nate, you scared the hell out of me, she said, trying to laugh it off. I asked you a question. She didn't answer, just blinked like she was recalibrating. She glanced at the door, then back to me. That's when I saw it. Fear. Not the kind that comes from danger. The kind that comes when you realize the game's up. I stood, walked toward her, slow, deliberate. No yelling, no fists, just silence and wait. You saw him, she said, voice barely above a whisper. I watched him touch you like he owned you. Her lips parted, and for a second, I thought she might break, might finally drop the act. But no. Instead, she tilted her head, crossed her arms, and scoffed. You followed me? That's real healthy, Nate. I trusted you for 7 years, Em. And I pretended for 5, she fired back. So I guess we're even. That hit like a punch to the ribs. She didn't even flinch. Didn't even blink. Just stood there on the steps like she was proud of it. I wanted to scream. Wanted to grab something, smash it, make her feel what I felt. But I didn't. I stood still, clenching every muscle in my jaw until it ached. You're a monster, I said. No, Nate, she said, walking down the stairs now slow, like she owned the room. I'm just tired of being your background noise. Your safe little wife with the boring job and the grocery list. You had everything. No, she said, stepping closer. I had you. And you? You were just there. Every day. Just there. I looked at her, and for a moment, I didn't see the woman I married. I saw a shadow wearing her face. What's it like? I asked. She tilted her head. What? Being able to lie that easily. Sleep next to me at night, kiss me in the morning, then sneak off for dessert with a guy who couldn't even stay faithful in college. Her face twisted. At least he doesn't bore me to death. That was it. No tears. No begging. No remorse. Just venom. I turned away. Went upstairs. Packed a bag. Not even clothes, just the important stuff, passport, laptop, my dad's watch. She didn't follow. When I came back down, she was sitting on the couch, legs crossed, sipping a glass of wine like this was just another Tuesday. Leaving already? She asked without looking at me. Yeah, I said. I'm done playing house with a woman who lost her soul and thinks betrayal's just another Thursday night. She raised her glass. Good luck finding someone who'll put up with your martyr complex. I walked out without another word. In the car, I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't shattered, I was, but because some betrayals go deeper than pain. They dig into your bones and hollow you out. And when that happens, all you can do is drive. I didn't go to a hotel this time. I drove to my brother Jake's place. He opened the door in boxers and a hoodie, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and before he could say anything, I stepped in and dropped my bag. One look at my face, and he didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and sat down across from me on the couch like he was ready for war. We didn't talk for a while. Just silence, broken only by the quiet hum of the fridge and the occasional bark from his neighbor's dog. I don't even remember how I started telling him. It all came out in a weird, detached voice like I was narrating someone else's life. The wedding, the chair, the laugh, The loft. The red dress. Every damn moment burned into my brain like scars I could feel but couldn't show. Jake didn't say much. Just nodded. Let me speak. And then he said, "You sure you're done?" I didn't answer right away. Was I? Because for a second, part of me wanted to go back. Not to forgive, but to make sense of it. Like maybe if I just asked the right question, she'd break down and admit it all started after some fight we had, or some emptiness I didn't notice. But I knew that was a fantasy. I'd seen her face. She didn't feel guilt. She felt power. I stayed with Jake for the weekend. Didn't touch my phone once. Let the messages pile up. Let her stew in the silence. Maybe she thought I was trying to hurt her with the silence, but the truth was simpler. I had nothing left to say. When I finally went home on Monday, I walked into a battlefield. Clothes were missing. Her closet, half empty. Jewelry drawer cleaned out. Even the stupid framed, "Our Adventure Begins" sign she made for our honeymoon wall was gone. On the kitchen table was a note. Not handwritten, not emotional. Just typed. "You made your choice. I'm just making mine. I'll send a lawyer to talk about the house. M." That was it. Not a sorry. Not a single ounce of ownership. I stared at the note until it blurred. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was pathetic. We built a life together, and she ended it with a 4-sentence breakup letter like she was quitting a job. Later that night, I went into the spare room, what was supposed to be the nursery. We talked about it once. Names. Colors. She wanted mint green walls. I said blue or nothing. We joked, we fought, we made up on the couch. I sat on the floor and stared at the empty room, my fist clenched. And I broke. No rage. Just tears. The kind that rip out from your ribs and soak your palms while you sit there wondering how the hell you got so lost in someone that you didn't see her walking away. There were moments, small ones, where I replayed every time she looked me in the eye and said she loved me, wondering which ones were lies, which ones were real, if any of them ever were. I thought I'd feel clean after she left, but all I felt was hollow. Like she didn't just cheat, she stole something from me. My sense of reality, my trust in myself, my belief that love could survive anything if you just tried hard enough. Spoiler, it doesn't. Not when the other person's playing a different game altogether. The days blurred. I woke up, ate when I remembered, showered when I couldn't stand my own reflection, and sat in silence for hours without realizing time had passed. Jake kept checking in. A couple friends texted, asking if everything was okay. I replied with the same lie each time, yeah, just busy. It was easier than trying to explain the slow unraveling of everything I thought was solid. Then came the email. Subject, need to talk about the settlement. From Emily. No greeting. No warmth. Just a PDF attached with lines and percentages and cold legal terms. She wanted the house. Said I could keep the car. How generous. The woman who tore out my heart wanted to take the walls around it, too. I didn't respond. But I did open a hidden folder on my laptop. One I created after I followed her that night. In it were screenshots, GPS logs, photos. I didn't collect them to hurt her. I did it because I needed proof I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't just some paranoid husband imagining shadows. And now, staring at that email, I realized I had something she didn't expect. Leverage. The next day, I contacted a divorce attorney. A good one. A pit bull in heels named Morgan who didn't flinch when I told her everything. You've got the upper hand, she said, flipping through the folder. Use it. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. But peace doesn't come when you let people walk away clean after dragging you through hell. So I played smart. Morgan sent a response. Calm, professional, brutal. Every lie, every message, every image was timestamped and presented. The clause in the prenup that Emily clearly forgot about. Infidelity voids her right to property split. She could take her wine glasses and her red dress. That was it. 2 days later, Emily showed up at my door. No warning. No knock. Just the doorbell, ringing like a ghost from the past. She looked tired. Her makeup was off, hair pulled into a lazy bun, hoodie too big for her frame. Maybe Ryan wasn't the fantasy she thought he was. Maybe he didn't look so good in daylight. I opened the door halfway. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Can we talk? I didn't move. Talk. She hesitated. I didn't think it would go this far. I raised an eyebrow. You cheated, lied, insulted me to my face, tried to take the house, and now you're shocked there are consequences? Her lips trembled for a second, but she caught herself. The arrogance returned. You really want to do this? Drag this through court? I leaned against the doorframe. Calm. You made this bed, Emily. Lie in it. Preferably not with your ex this time. That one hit. Her face cracked. She looked down, then up again, this time with that desperate, manipulative tone I'd heard before. I made mistakes, Nate, but we had good years too. Doesn't that count for something? I paused. It did. Until you torched them for dessert with a man who peaked in college. She slapped me. Hard. Open palm, right across the face. It didn't even hurt. I didn't react. Just stared at her until she backed away like she finally realized something terrifying. She had no power left here. She turned and walked down the steps. Didn't say goodbye. I closed the door. Locked it. Then sat down and exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for months. It was over. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel hollow. I felt free. I didn't tell anyone she slapped me. Not because I was ashamed, hell, I barely felt it, but because it didn't matter. That slap wasn't about pain, it was about control. A last-ditch attempt to rattle me, to pull me back into the orbit of her chaos. But it didn't work. That moment was the final thread snapping between us. After she left, I sat on the couch for a while, hands folded, just listening to the quiet. It was different now. Not the oppressive silence I'd been drowning in since everything fell apart. This silence had space in it. Breathing room. No more lies hiding behind bedroom doors or fake kisses at breakfast. Just clarity. The next few days moved differently. The fog in my head began to lift, and so did the weight on my chest. I stopped checking my phone for her messages. I stopped wondering where she was or who she was with. Because I knew the truth now, she wasn't mine anymore. And maybe she never really was. Then Ryan called me. I didn't recognize the number at first, but when I picked up, I heard his voice, low, unsure, almost rehearsed. Hey, Nate. I wanted to clear the air, man. I froze. He continued. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just, it got complicated. I didn't speak. I let the silence answer for me. I didn't even know you guys were still, close, he added, like that somehow made it better. Still close? We were married. We lived together. Shared a bed, shared dreams, shared taxes. You done? I asked. He paused. I just thought it'd be better if you heard it from me. You're about 2 affairs too late for that. He sighed. All right. Just take care of yourself. And then he hung up. That call didn't make me angry. It made me sad. Because now I saw the bigger picture. She didn't just betray me, she downgraded. She traded a man who gave her everything for a guy who didn't even have the decency to apologize face to face. I started cleaning the house that weekend. Not just wiping down counters. I mean deep cleaning. Purging. I gathered everything that had her imprint on it. Photos, souvenirs, that stupid framed canvas that said, "Love you more," in cursive. Every lie we hung on the walls pretending it was love. I boxed them all up and left the boxes in the garage, next to the trash bins. I found her perfume in the bathroom drawer. The one I used to love. The scent that once made me think of warmth and safety. I sprayed it once. It made my stomach turn. I threw it in the trash. But the hardest part wasn't tossing her stuff. It was finding pieces of myself I hadn't seen in years. A sketch pad under the guest bed I hadn't touched since our engagement. My old hiking boots, buried behind boxes of her fall decor. A notebook from college where I'd written ideas for a novel I never started. I stared at those boots for a long time. They still fit. That Sunday, I drove to a trail I hadn't walked in years. Just me and the wind and the dirt. And for the first time since the wedding, since the folding chair by the kitchen, since the red dress and the folded lie of our marriage, I felt alive. Not happy yet. Not healed. But breathing my own air again. Step by step, I was walking out of the wreckage. The divorce moved quickly after that. Morgan was relentless, precise, polite, and cold as steel. Every asset documented. Every message backed up. Emily's lawyer tried to push back, tried to negotiate terms that assumed she still had the upper hand, but the proof shut that down fast. The prenup did the rest. She walked away with her car, some furniture, and whatever pride she could salvage. The house? Mine. The savings? Mostly untouched. But none of that felt like a win. Because the truth is, no one really wins in betrayal. You just survive it. The last time I saw her was at the signing. Neutral ground. Conference room, 2 tables, no eye contact. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired. Angry. Like the story she'd told herself about how this would all go had unraveled faster than expected. I didn't speak to her. Not even when she tried to. Nate, she said as I gathered the papers. Her voice had that fake softness she used whenever she wanted to avoid consequences. I looked up. "You think this makes you right?" she asked. "No," I said. "It makes me free." And then I walked out. That night, I opened a bottle of scotch I'd been saving for something big. It was supposed to be for our anniversary. I drank it alone, sitting on the back porch, watching the stars come out one by one. There was no celebration in it, just peace. A dull, quiet kind that settles in your bones after the storm passes. A week later, I started going through my emails, cleaning out all the junk I'd ignored while life fell apart. That's when I found one from her sister, Maddie, the one whose wedding started all this. Subject: I owe you an apology. Inside was a short message. I didn't know she was bringing Ryan. I swear. I saw your face that night and I should have said something. You didn't deserve that. Just, I'm sorry. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Because it didn't matter anymore. That chapter was closed. The damage was done, and no apology could rewrite the pages that burned. I started to rebuild my life in small ways. New sheets. New art for the walls. Got rid of the white plates she loved and bought matte black ones that looked sharp and masculine and clean. I booked a solo trip out west, just me and the road and the silence. I didn't tell anyone until I was already on the highway. On the second day of the trip, I found this old diner off a desert highway. Dusty windows, cracked sign, but the coffee was hot and the waitress called me darlin' with a smile that didn't want anything in return. I sat at the corner booth and opened my notebook, the one I found in the garage, and I started to write. Not about her, not directly, but about pain, about silence, about the kind of man who learns, too late, that love without respect is just performance. That's when I realized I wasn't broken. I was just changing. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of who I'd become on the other side. Months passed. Not in a blur this time, but in steady, deliberate motion. I learned to enjoy the quiet again, not the silence that used to feel like punishment, but the kind that feels like space. Space to think, to breathe, to become someone I actually respected. I redecorated the house, not to erase her, but to reclaim it. The guest room became my studio. I hung my sketches again. Started painting. I forgot how much I loved it. How grounding it felt to create something real with your hands when everything else in your life had been fake. I joined a gym again. Started cooking instead of ordering out. Saturday mornings became mine. I'd wake up early, grind fresh coffee, put on a vinyl, and just exist. No lies. No performances. Just me. The man who'd made it through hell and walked out with both feet still under him. And slowly, the hurt faded. Not completely. Betrayal doesn't just vanish. It carves into you, leaves marks. But the sting dulled. I stopped flinching every time I heard her name. I stopped checking her social media. I stopped needing answers to questions that once haunted me at 3 a.m. Because I already had the answers. She never loved me the way I loved her. She loved control, applause, comfort. I loved her soul even when she started hiding it from me. I ran into her once, by accident. Grocery store. She looked older. Not bad. Just weathered. Like life had worn her down in places she used to keep polished. She was alone. No ring. No smile. She saw me. Paused. I nodded. She didn't speak. Neither did I. We just moved past each other in the aisle like strangers who almost remembered something important, but didn't stop long enough to figure it out. And that was perfect. That night, I sat on my back porch again. Same spot, same sky. Only now, it wasn't scotch in my glass. It was ginger tea. My chest didn't feel hollow anymore. It felt strong. Solid. Like all the pieces had come back together. Different, yes, but better. I thought about everything I went through. The betrayal. The lies. The folding chair by the kitchen. And I smiled. Because here's what I learned. Real love doesn't humiliate you in public and lie to you in private. Real love doesn't play games with your heart while you're giving it everything. Real love, if you ever find it, feels like home, not a hostage situation. So here's my advice. If someone makes you sit by the kitchen while they laugh with their past at the main table, don't beg for a seat. Stand up. Pick up your envelope. Walk out. Because real family doesn't make you pay for your own destruction. And real love? It never makes you question your worth.